first of all, congratulations on the website. That's a big update. Like that's different than the last time we went there.
Yeah, always working on it. I mean, it's like the new shop front. You used to have to go and get a sign writer. Now you just get an editor and upload stuff. So we're trying to keep it fresh.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and I like it. It's easy to
It's
navigate too.
good.
Um, there's been some big changes in, like we spoke a while back. I remember we had our first conversation because someone mentioned your name and the brand, and then I touched base with you, and we had a chat, and I ended up buying a Braaap and also having a ride of the Moto 4, which we've still got sitting in the just outside the other side of the studio. Um, there's been some big changes in what you're doing with Braaap. So tell us a bit about that and the thinking behind it.
Oh man, this is year 19, and I reckon we've had 19 visions. Every year it seems to be a pivot. I think anyone who's had anything to do with small to medium-sized businesses knows that you've got to be on the hustle. You're constantly looking for your edge and how do you add value to the customer in your unique way. And I think in the motorcycle industry, it's even more leverage because you're so inventory heavy. It's really difficult to pivot.
Mm.
But it's really important. Like we don't just want to be a cheaper Honda or you know what I mean, like a second option. We want to add true value to our customer, and we want to really own a niche. We want to be the best in the world at what we do. So that's been our kind of like guiding principle the whole time. And I've always thought that the way people own motorcycles is probably more important than what they own. Almost like there's a debate to be had there, but the way you own a bike is obviously a really big part of becoming a motorcyclist. So we've been pivoting super hard. Like we've done our own finance company over our time. We've been really involved in the lending side of it, but that's got really really difficult with legislation. I don't know if people know, but if you go get a loan, it's the responsibility of the people who gave you the loan to follow the rules. It's not your responsibility to read it, make sure you can afford it, all that stuff. So there's a lot of responsible lending legislation that's made that really difficult. So we got out of that part of our business, but we realized that people want to pay for their bikes in bit by bit pieces. They want to trade them in and swap bikes often. And that really moved to this kind of, I guess, like where the age we're in, where subscription and variety is really important. Like access is considered as good as ownership, especially to the younger demographic. So we've been doing this leasing program or subscription where for $100 a week, you can ride any bike. We've got 200 bikes in the fleet, all brands, everything. Like, yeah, like bit of the spread of bikes is huge. And for $100 a week, you can ride. And that means you can swap and mix and choose. And if you're a learner, it's awesome because you can get to know all types of bikes. Or if you're an enthusiast like me, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to have a loan against one bike and be stuck with it for 5 years. I want to get a new one more often. So we're tapping into that, and it's been working really well. And a lot of lessons, man. Pivoting's not easy, but I think we've created something that is awesome for the customer, and that's reflecting in the demand for it.
What's been?
So we're rolling it down.
You're right. I remember when, we first spoke about it, and there's like, this is a very specific niche or area because it's definitely not all motorcyclists, but it's this group of people. Do
Mm.
you think, a couple of questions, do you think that's focused more in the cities? And secondly, what's the feedback that you get from people involved in it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done a year of this subscription thing now, and like true subscription, not finance. And really, that's our pitch is like no debt, just
No.
send it back whenever you want, finish whenever you want, no strings attached. Um, and we're starting to get more disciplined now. So we had to throw the net super wide and just basically accept any business we could get to start with. Now we're really focusing it. It's time to scale now. So we've had to put some disciplines in place. And that's meant that we've started to target it much more towards the like cities, like capital cities.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised, regional people love it too.
Wow.
Just that we don't market to the regional ones as much because it's much harder for us. Like our biggest risk is logistics. You change your mind or your bike breaks down or you just are a bad payer or something, it's our risk that we got to go get the bike. So we're incentivized to make it more city focused, but that's doesn't mean the demand's not regional. We just haven't really figured out how to make it cost effective for super regional people yet.
Yeah, right. Do you,
So
what are what types of responses, what type of feedback do you get from people in the cities? Because I would assume that it would be, I don't know, a combination of, social riding on a weekend, but also some commuting.
it's true. Well, I'll ask you this question. You've been around motorcyclists and you're at the super passionate end of motors. Like you only meet you if you're a proper motorcyclist, like you've caught the bug and
Proper motorcycle.
there's no turning back.
Yeah.
Where I meet people that need a bike just to get to work. Some dudes just want to deliver their Uber Eats. Not that we really promote that, but we do allow it.
Yeah.
We meet those people right through to the people who this is like their passion and they're a motorcyclist. So across the spectrum, my question for you is how many people have you met who know exactly what bike they want the moment they catch that bug and then want to stick with that one bike for a long time versus the motorcyclist who's reading all the articles going, wonder what it's like to ride that bike, or I wonder what that's like to ride a cruiser, or I wonder what an electric bike's like, or I wonder what a sports bike's like, or I wonder how fast that is. Like, what do you see at your end?
That's a great question, because it's the right question too, coming from, your perspective, in that the first thing that came to mind is there's this saying that floats around, and that is, how many bikes do you need? Well, the answer is N plus one, where N equals how many bikes you currently have. So the idea that, it's one bike and that type of thing, real motorcyclists want multiple bikes because no one bike does everything. So that suddenly just gave me a little bit of, like, the light bulb just came on as you asked the question, that the leasing option gives you the option of having multiple bikes. You can go and tap into a cruiser or a sport bike, or, a naked bike, or whatever the case may be. So I get it. I do understand what you're saying, because it's not a one bike thing. Yeah, and if you're like me,
We've been thinking there shouldn't be. Oh, you go.
like you look beyond, there's a bike right there, the S1000 RR. But if I pivot this way, I think the camera will follow me. There you go. There's another one in the corner. So, there's 5 motorcycles in this shed. So I've got my own leasing fleet that I have to bear all the logistical problems for.
You got 3.5 grand worth of rego per year sitting there then.
Well, that's true. I looked on the leasing side of it this morning, and like straight on the front of your website homepage, there it is, leasing, ride all types of bikes, $100 a week. And I was thinking about it, and you own a bike for, maybe, let's just say you buy a bike. If you buy a BMW, you're going to pay more than $30,000 for that motorcycle. What it costs you in the depreciation of it is going to be in the thousands per year. Then you add on, what do you call it, total cost of ownership type of thing, and suddenly that $100 makes a lot of sense. How did you come up with that number?
Yeah, well, the $100 is a starting point. So most people that follow you would probably be spending 150 because they'd want the more premium bikes. Like we got Ducati Scramblers, CBR. My old man took one of the lease bikes, CBR 650, and hit Phillip Island up a few weeks ago. I texted you because I was like pretty pumped on that. But yeah, so they spend 150. But really, we've been searching. We're in startup or scale up mode for this angle that we're trying to develop out. So we're learning. The pricing is changing, like it should be more expensive, but we're honoring all of our memberships and just trying to build scale at the moment. And now's an awesome time for us to do that and for people to get on early and help us do it. Yeah. But the other thing as well is that, I was going to say we should be rebranding it. It shouldn't really be called leasing. It should be called subscription. And we've been thinking of a brand. I think we should call it N+1. That's a good brand. I like that.
Actually, it is. That resonates with motorcyclists.
Well, my dad taught me it was D-1. You should have as many bikes. So D stands for divorce, and you should have as many bikes as you can, less one less than divorce at all times.
Like managing the upper limit. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so the leasing, to kind of wrap this up and get a good understanding of it, that leasing side of it, what does it cover? So if you join the leasing program, I'm assuming it would include multiple things that would normally form part of that total cost of motorcycle ownership.
yeah, true. We cover servicing, all that. Um, when my dad took it, we were allowed to go to track days, by the way. We haven't cut that
Yeah.
out yet.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably on the chopping block at some point. But we
Yeah.
really want to try and make it as good or better than ownership. So you actually can lease a bike and go to Phillip Island or whatever track you want. So we cover wear and tear, servicing, tires, things like that. You can pay for insurance, and there's a $500 excess if you crash it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, basically, if you crash it, you pay the $500 or whatever it costs to fix it under that.
Yeah.
And everything else is on us. So we're learning a lot, man. We're trying to make it really like I've got to balance investors who are buying the bikes and backing us, and that means disciplines. Like we've got to make sure this thing works, and we're not stupid. But I also want to balance the other side and say things the track, but like we don't want to overpromise. We know that if we make that promise, it gives people the freedom and the comfort that they can do what they want. But we know that a very small percentage of people are actually going to do that. So, my dad taking the lead racetrack is not profit generating for us by any way. We lose money on that, but we know that we let a customer do that, and we trying to win their hearts as well and tap into the passion of riding.
Yeah, right. If you're like, it also struck me that you got this fleet you're trying to manage. Does that mean you have to introduce other things in your business, like, logistical support, bike pickups, like the RACQ, RACV type of thing, where if it breaks down, you've got to provide the fix it service? Has that been something you've had to introduce?
Oh man, it's so difficult. We run a logistics business, really. Like
Yeah.
we talk about the passion of bikes and the bike and stuff, but really we run a logistics business. Like making sure we've got the right bike at the right place at the right time for when a customer wants it.
Yeah.
And then if something goes wrong, we've got to recover that as cost effectively as possible. So that's a really difficult thing. Like we're building systems and we talk about the front end of the riding and stuff, but that's the easy bit. Behind the scenes is, we've had to buy trucks and trailers and vans, and we've done a deal with national storage so we can have sites across the country. So we've got a national coverage without having to go rent showrooms, because as much as I'd love showrooms, they cost money, and that means we've got to charge people more. We're trying to keep the price right down.
Yeah.
It's if anyone who follows you's into like business stuff, they would be pulling their hair out with me and going, yeah, like it's an awesome opportunity, and there's complexities with pivoting, but man, we're here to fight and do something different. I want to shake this industry up, and we're doing our best to be an underdog. We also say, like, there's a book on the shelf there called "Find a Starving Crowd and Feed It," and that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to tap into the demand, like what people actually want, and make it a affordable and awesome experience.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about this the other day. They work for a corporation and they want to go out on their own. And I said, you've got to, you're coming from an environment where it's slow to turn, you're very risk averse. The company's kind of risk averse in that regard. It's not entrepreneurial thinking. Whereas you're exactly the opposite. It's that, do you want to be best in market or first to market? You really chase this first to market thing, which I think is one of the keys to entrepreneurialism success.
Yeah.
So how much, like, how do you process the decision? How do you go about making those decisions to do these things that are really bold steps? Because this is a big step, because I remember when we spoke about it, it was not that long after that you had done it. Like you'd started the process. You don't muck around at all. How do you go about the process of deciding and doing and testing and that type of thing?
Oh, it's a good question. Well, I think the first thing I always say to, especially talking to like motorcycle followers, like you, as people listen to you,
Yeah.
is that if you love riding motorcycles, just do whatever the hell you can do to be good at whatever job or skill or whatever you've been blessed with, like in your position or skill. Do that, make money, and pay to ride your bike because you'll love it.
Yeah.
The dream of like turning your passion for motorcycling into your business is a very, very difficult road. Like it's not all that it's like I love riding my motorcycle. My job day to day is systems and processes and spreadsheets. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a professional rider. So I've been lucky that I've been able to keep my passion for the bike. But most of my friends that I've seen say I want to get into the industry and turn it into a passion, they actually I mean, you go look at most motorcycle dealers. They got into it because they loved motorcycles and they
Mm.
wanted to make some money. Now they hate motorcycles and they're broke.
Yeah.
And like that's the reality of trying to turn your passion into a pathway. And it's been really difficult. Like
Yeah.
my journey has been incredibly hard. And
Mm.
yeah, I think as a my personal belief system is that I'm going to turn up and give it everything I've got, no matter how easy or how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I think I'm called to be here, but that's a deeper discussion. But I think this is where I'm supposed to be at the moment. So I'm going to give it everything I've got.
Yeah.
But the decision-making process for how do you pivot? Number one, we test and measure. So we put 10 bikes out on lease fleet to start with.
Hmm.
We learned a lot. We had people flog bikes. We had bikes wrecked. We had people doing burnouts. Like we did a test and measure. We parked it. We then had some lessons. We tried again with about 10 or 15 bikes. We tested and measured for about a year before we started talking about this. And the first thing we're trying to verify is their demand. That's like, I don't want to fall in love with my own ideas. We
Mm.
want to fall in love with what the customer or the rider wants and just find a way to nail it. And so that's number one. Number two is then you got to get other people on board because it costs a lot of money. So we had to get investors and people to back it, and you need to have something to verify that your opportunity is not just your idea, but true. And then we had to go for it. And we're in that go for it. We're a year into the let's go for it
Yeah.
stage. Let's scale this thing up. And we've hit the limit of like enthusiast type. That's that bit. Like we now need to go more corporate and we need proper like backing from proper capital firms and funding firms. And if we're going to put 2,000 bikes on the road,
Yeah.
that's a lot of capital to do that. So I think the biggest thing that in our thought process is test and measure. Make sure you've got data that's driving your decisions and put your own passions and ideas aside for a moment before you have verified there's something there.
Yeah. Do you think, because I know people go out and they do this, they talk about testing and measuring, but some people seem to take too long and try to get too much data. Like they almost want to guarantee success before they step out there. But that's not your case, is it?
Well, I've had a pretty difficult season.
Yeah.
So, the last few years have been really difficult for us.
Yeah.
And, as an underdog, like a smaller brand, we have seasons where we launched a cafe racer 10 years ago now. That
Yeah.
was a really easy start because we were first to market. There was so much organic demand. Like they were selling just because we had them. You
Yeah.
have seasons like that.
Yeah.
This hasn't been one of those. This has been, we've had to fight for our position in the market. It's been a real wrestle. And when you're in those wrestles, it's much easier to make a decision to pivot and try something new because you're searching for that high leverage product, something that you can do different. Like where I've got in my calendar here every morning, I get here and just ask myself and the team a question: what's the high leverage product? Like, we need to do something that's going to shake the whole industry up. And
Yeah.
man, it's difficult because people judge you on what they see and they don't get to see the 2, 3, 4 years of work that goes into
Yeah.
behind the scenes before they get to see it. And you got to ignore a lot of stuff while you're in pivot mode. So
Yeah. Do you like looking at the website? I can see that not only have you gone into the subscription slash leasing model, that's now turned you into used bike dealership as well. Because I'm assuming you have to turn over bikes. that's part of
Well,
the fleet
yes and
arrangement.
no. We're not really turning them over. More, we just realized that we've got demand. So
Yeah,
we get a lot of leads, but our conversion is probably lower than your local Honda dealership because we're marketing nationally,
yeah,
and we get people to buy up because they're sitting on their couch reading Facebook at night. Then we need to have all options to get them onto a bike. A new Braaap we always talk about. We believe that they're the best value, especially if you're commuting or learning.
yeah,
Leasing, if just whatever bike you want, it's an awesome way to own, especially if you want to try a heap of bikes. And then we're like, well, a lot of people end up using leasing for 6 months, or at the moment, our average retention is about 6 months. But most people are seeing that as a long-term solution, like permanent solution to ownership. But there is a percentage of people who use leasing to try heaps of bikes and want to buy a bike.
yeah.
So we thought better start selling used bikes through the dealership network as well.
And,
So
well, it's important what you
um,
said there. It's not just Braapp bikes either. It's a range of brands in the fleet.
yeah. So we thought like we can just sell used bikes. We're like we do that. There's probably some on the website today.
Yeah, there
And
is.
the
Yeah,
deal
three, I think.
Yeah, the dealers would have bikes that you can walk into the dealership and just buy today.
Yeah,
But we're always trying to do something a bit different. So what we thought was we can offer the cheapest. We specialize in a few models like the MT-07, Ninja 400, those type of super popular bikes.
yeah,
How do you be the cheapest in the country? Well, for us, we can get you to buy your bike today, pay us, and give us 100 days to deliver your bike. So we can give you the cheapest in the country. We've got the bike here. But what the way we make it so cheap is that we can still rent it, like lease it out for that 100 days. So if you're organized or you're patient or you haven't got your license yet or whatever, we can say the cheapest in the country. And the catch is you got to wait 3 months, but it's a way that we offset the cost and give a real, position ourselves to actually do something different. Not for everyone.
yeah,
It's always a risk when you're doing. You'll see my Facebook hammering. We're sometimes late, but often late, I'd even say.
yeah,
So it's always a risk, but it is how we can offer the best price.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, I've seen people people go they if you're one day late, they go off their banana. It's crazy.
oh man, we cop a flogging, and
Yeah,
it's very difficult because like I got real people behind the keyboard, like our staff, it's their job, like,
yeah,
and we have been like really late on some models. Like this is more new bikes. The used
yeah,
bikes
right.
we're not late on used bikes generally, maybe a week here or there. But new bikes, when people buy a build to order promo, yeah, we've been dealing with some proper delays. And man, let's say we have 300 people waiting for bikes, 275 of them understand they got a huge discount. We're upfront, their sales contract, the marketing, the sales team. We're not trying to trick people. We're trying to say it's the best price in the country.
Yeah,
There's a catch. You've got to build the bike, which means we could be late. I don't ever want someone to feel tricked by those promos. So we try and be good about that. But yeah, you get guys who their bike was a few months late 4 years ago and they're still on Facebook attacking us. It's really difficult. I don't know.
Do you think
I got no
do you
advice.
think you overpromise on delivery?
We don't. We put what like is factual, like what we're told. We don't put a buffer in or anything like that. We just say shipping should be this time,
Yeah,
manufacturing should be this time. This is what we get told, and we try and make sure that we're
mm,
accurate in that, and we say this is all subject to delay. So then if a delay does come, we just update it. But it's interesting because we can't really promote. I don't know. We probably could. We just decided not to promote. Like we just had 72 cruisers arrive. Of those 72, 30 people have waited. They're probably on average 2 months late,
yeah,
but the rest are early.
yeah,
So
right.
we don't really promote, hey, how awesome is it that 40 people are early?
Yeah,
Because we know that we've got 30 people that in there's going to be someone who's pissed and maybe like the likelihood is there's someone who's not happy that they're late, but the other guy's not. And I'm learning, man. I don't know. This internet world, I don't know. Like,
but I think that's like people don't realize we last week I was teaching a business. There's a business I work with, like big corporation around Australia, and it's all business stuff, nothing to do with motorbikes. And we talk about pull systems and push systems, and you got the difference between an Apple and a Dell computers.
Mm.
Apple's push system where they can get they have, what do they have? Like, they're worth over $3 trillion or something, and I believe they have billions in the bank, so they can go and order 10 million phones and hold a stock, whereas
Yeah.
Dell, they have control of the assembly and construction of the computers, but they don't hold any computers until you order
Yeah.
one. So, and the reason for doing it is you can get a lower cost product. So it's like the person buying it doesn't realize that they're getting the price and the deal because of the pull system that you've
Mm.
got in your system, which is basically the same. I
Yeah.
think the big difference or the big challenge is the manufacturers. You have this arrangement with the manufacturer,
Yeah.
and you're here in Australia, you don't have control over the manufacturing process,
Mm.
in a way that would give you control over the delivery time. So it's a tough one but that's the
Mm.
reality. You get the deal because of that, but
Yeah.
there is a trade-off.
I think the thing for us is like I need to be able to sleep at night, and I do cop a flogging on the internet, and my sales team need to be able to sleep at night. So like we don't want to trick people. Like we've got a delivery updates page. I think on the bikes at the moment it says 90 days, which I mean that is longer than it should be.
Yeah,
But um yeah, it's just one of those things. I try sometimes I've gone through seasons where we go on live stream every day, just try
yeah,
and communicate to people so they get to know you. And then at the moment, the last month or so, I've just been laying a bit lower, like just behind the scenes. I really don't know how to navigate this internet world because
mm,
in that department, when you're trying to, I
mm,
guess, manage public perception, my philosophy, I had huge allegations and that made about 5, 6, or yeah, 8 years ago now, and the media hammered me. And since then, my kind of personal philosophy has just been let them talk. Just the
yeah,
truth comes out, let them talk.
yeah.
It hurts,
I think
needs stuff.
Joe Rogan talks about this. He says, "Don't read the comments because
Oh,
there are people who just get up in the morning and they're going to comment negatively. Like it's more a reflection of the quality of their life than anything else. But
yeah.
the more to me, that's an indication of success. It means you got broad coverage and broad exposure. You're going to get negatives. I get it a little bit with YouTube, and I just laugh and shake my head, and
What do
then
they say? I haven't read. I'm gonna go check the comments now. What are they
I don't
hanging on?
get I don't get many, but occasionally I get these people who want to argue. I had a guy complain. We were talking about gyroscopic effect of wheels on steering and all this sort of
Yeah.
thing. And he just came in and told me I was wrong, wrong, wrong. Like he used the word wrong three times in a row. And I said to him, I said, well, you obviously have never ridden a motocross bike and had the bike off, wheels off the ground in the air. And he came back and he said, you're obviously not a physicist. Cracked me up. So I just laugh and
That
yeah, ignore it. Doesn't worry me.
Yeah, it's an element of that. You just got to put your head down. And I
Yeah.
love meeting them. Nothing. I don't get motivated by like I'm going to prove you wrong. I think
Yeah.
man, I'm long gone with that. Like
Yeah.
that
Good.
short-term motivation. Like man, I've got to be a diesel engine and just like not blow myself up and just keep going. But there's nothing I love more than when a customer who is against you
Yeah.
meets you or your team
Yeah.
and turns and is like with you. I just love that. I love
Yeah.
having a community that's with you. And I guess we've been the opposite. We don't really. I'm wrestling with should we be better at promoting the positive side of our community.
Yeah.
The reason I wrestle it is because my most common complaint is a DM or an SMS from a good customer who's got sick of commenting on our social media stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say don't defend us. Just enjoy your bike. You'll meet someone at the cafe and tell them about us, and that'll be enough for
Yeah.
us. Like
Yeah.
I
No,
like
I still go back to, you address what you can about the actual complaint. If someone says it's late, well, you're trying to deal with the lateness rather than the comment,
yeah.
um, which is the right thing. And my knowledge and interaction with you is that's what you do. So I'd keep doing it. There's nothing else you can do. People are
Oh,
always going to complain, eh?
it's true. It's a
Yeah.
bit easier now having the leasing fleet because we just give them free memberships to leasing.
Yeah.
So they can trial bikes before they wait. But I'm interested to know, why do you study business stuff? What's your what's that about for you?
Well, that's, our main business is all about business efficiencies, pulling waste out of businesses and things like that. And we work with big corporations, large corporations where the waste is really obvious and it's easy to gain, and it's just been something that I've been doing since the late 90s, so my forte is in that space. The motorbikes is a passion on the side. So slowly we're transitioning to income through bikes rather than income through business, analysis, business type coaching, that type of stuff. So yeah, but I've
Or
written all the books I've written are in that space. So
man,
yeah.
I didn't know this. I'm gonna have to check the books out. And I'll actually really like hearing that, because I think there's this false narrative or false like hope that a lot of people have, is that guys like you looks like you make your money from doing bike stuff.
Mm,
But most people don't. Most
yeah,
people,
correct.
they pay to. The story. I don't know if this relates to other people, but I remember when you finish high school, I had mates who couldn't wait to go be skiing, work on the lifts on the mountain, so they could go snowboarding all day. And
Oh yeah.
I, I was like, I couldn't think of anything worse than going to the mountain and having to work. Like, I'd rather work my ass off and then pay to go to the mountain for 2 weeks and have go snowboarding and actually just snowboard and then come home and go back to work. Like, I think it's similar with the bikes. Like, yeah, it's nothing better than being able to just actually ride your bike. And
Yeah. I I
yeah,
would I wouldn't work in that bike space. I'm with you. I wouldn't do it. Like if bike motor mechanic or something like that. But for me, it's like working out because I think you and I are similar in this regard. I always work out, well, how do you turn that into an income stream? I think more like the entrepreneur, and then
yeah.
like everything that I'm doing now came from me wanting to work out how to make motorcycle riding tax deductible. I mean, that was the
I
goal. Like I just want to be able to claim the spending on a motorcycle, right? So
love
hence the YouTube, and then YouTube led to Californian Superbike School. And
it. Yeah.
now, we have an income through YouTube, and I get paid to ride with the California Superbike School. So it just
I love
evolved. But I think it was, for me, it was that pursuing, how can you turn this into an income stream that you can make as a tax deductible thing? And anyway, it evolved.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I'm like you. I just went, I did a little bit of data analysis at the front end, and then I went, okay, well, I don't know how to do it perfectly, but I'm just going to do it anyway and see what happens. It's like the podcasts. I had zero intention of making money through podcasting. I had every intention of learning how to do podcasting, and it's just I
yeah.
love doing it, and it also helps us market a YouTube channel, but it also exposes people to that long form conversation where they can get to know people like yourself. The old, that a phrase on, Facebook or social media or something can be so misinterpreted, misunderstood. Whereas, an hour long, hour and a half conversation with Brad Smith, people get to know Brad like I do. And I know Brad is not that guy that a lot of people comment about or think about. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I think I've got it right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I like hearing that. It's yeah, just the make keeping riding a passion. I think that's
Yeah.
whatever you decide to do. I think, and that's I've been thinking about that a lot this year, because it's I said at the start, I don't know if we were recording, but I'm in that season, man. I got 2 kids under 3, another one on the way, a business that takes a lot of time. It's getting out to ride is a real. It's actually a chore to make. Not when I'm riding, but to
Mm.
get there is a chore. And
It's a it's a real
got
bonus because it's just you by yourself. It's very selfish, isn't it? In many
oh
ways.
man, I love it. So yeah, it's we've got to do more of it. Tell us, I want to hear about this Moto 4. I've heard bits, and we actually haven't like genuinely haven't had a call about this yet. So it'd be
No.
good to hear while we're recording. But I want to know about this Moto 4 track day stuff. I saw some good photos, and
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Hey, I tried to get more photos, but the photographer at the track never published them. There was something weird went on, and I remember, the typical, I knew where the photographer was, so I'm going to style it up on the corner, that kind of thing. But it just never panned out. We never got the photos, but I got a lot of video. The plan was to ride the Moto 4, commuting, then ride the
Yeah.
Moto 4 on the range. So we got,
Yeah.
they got the range up at the Gillies Range, which is just legendary, 263 corners, over 20 Ks or something. And but then put it on track. The original plan was to put it onto a motard track or a go-kart track, which is and I know today is more suited to that bike. But
Yeah.
we took it down to Townsville and put it on what do they call it? I forget the name of the track, but it's the new track in Townsville,
Yeah.
something park of Manton Park.
Yeah.
And the track is um, very new, very green, so it's got a very abrasive
Yeah.
surface on it. So I made the one big mistake was I put the wrong tires on. I went to a soft tire and I should have gone to a hard tire. But anyway, we put
Yeah.
Pirelli, super courses on, so more race oriented type of tire, and put the O-ring chain and opened up the air. So we took a little. There was a little restrictor, like a trumpet type thing that restricted air. We took that out, and anyway, took it to the track, and it was a lot of fun. The track's too big for that bike. That was the only problem.
Did you change the gearing at all?
I did. I put that smaller. It's one. No, what is it? Yeah, one tooth smaller. No, one tooth bigger on the front.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had I think you call it the top speed gearing or high speed gearing or something.
What did you hit? What was your top speed?
Around 160 kilometers an hour, 150 something kilometers an hour. Yeah. So it
I
was,
reckon that's PB for a. I guess most people know how to promote their top speeds on the road, but
yeah.
that's that's the fastest Moto 4 I've seen.
But that's speedo reading. And I know
Oh,
I'm pretty sure we recorded the GPS reading from the camera, so I got to have a look at it, but it would
probably
be
higher.
it'd be a bit less than that. It would be
I
less.
reckon it's less.
Yeah, it would
The
be less.
speedo should be lower than. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, speedo should be a bit higher than
It
reality.
will.
So you
It'll.
don't.
It'll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know on the 450, the MX 450, because I've had that. I've ridden that a lot on the range, that thing, and which is, damn it, that's the funnest bike I've ridden. I have a lot of fun on that as a motard. That thing does 100 and what is it, 118 kilometers an hour, flat GPS. There's no gearing change or anything type of thing,
They're,
but
they're really short geared, aren't they?
oh
And
yeah,
the front wheel on the 450, it's almost like the front wheel's not on, like it's so pokey off the throttle that
yep,
it's
yep,
almost like the front wheel doesn't weigh anything.
yep. But it's a fun bike. That's of all the bikes I've got, it's the one I want to ride on the road more than anything on the road, range. Sorry, but
Love it.
yeah. So you whack a set of slicks on, put that on the motard track. That's a ball. But the Moto 4, the thing that jumped out for me, it's that has got to be the best looking mid range bike on the planet. I've shown a heap of people, and they look at it and they go, "What is that?" I go, "It looks like a Ducati, doesn't it? It looks like a Panigale Ducati." So the styling on that bike, that man absolutely nailed.
Awesome.
Yeah. The other thing about it is the starting. It's the easiest starting bike. It starts like first turn, even if it sits there for a couple of weeks. It's quite
That's good.
amazing. Yeah, but too slow for a big track. So
Yeah.
it was never designed for that. So I did. Don't worry,
Yeah.
it got ridden pretty hard, but it
I'll
was.
bet.
But I'll tell you, the backs when I rode around the back side of the track at Manton Park, right? I never backed off. It was just flat all the way. So yeah, there was one other
Did
thing.
you
Oh
go
yeah,
to a go-kart track yet at all, or did
no,
you?
we have. I don't know if you've been following or looking at the weather up here. We have had the worst run of rain. There's actually sunshine outside. That is the first sunshine in more than a month.
Wow.
I haven't ridden this year.
Oh, that's
It's so
shocking.
bad. It's really weird. Every day it just rains. But
Wow.
yeah, so the plan was to take it to the motard, the go-kart track at Mariba,
Nice.
which is like an hour away or something. And then I've pretty much done everything I wanted to do on it. But I've done a few range rides on it. Yeah.
Awesome.
The
Um,
I'm going to do a video on that one, but the interesting thing about it, and this is the thing that I got to point out to people, that
yeah.
bike, because and it's pretty typical of a small bike. It uses way less lean angle than a bigger motorcycle. for a given speed in a given corner.
Yeah.
Because the wheelbase is much shorter, so it actually turns a lot easier, right? It's the only bike I've ridden that has chicken strips on it now because I I, I never need to crank it over as much. And I thought about that, and that's the point I was going to make to people is if you're a learner rider, you don't want to be cranking a bike over to big lean angles. You're actually going to get a safer ride on a smaller bike like this type of thing because you're
That's
not
a really
using,
good point. I hadn't thought of that. Like a CBR 650, a lot heavier,
yeah.
and especially if they're still restricted for lambs, really heavy. And you got to lean them a lot.
Yeah, the longer the bike, the more you got to lean it for a given
Mm.
speed, in a corner. But yeah,
That's interesting. Question I have for you: when you're taking these things to the track, like the Moto 4, are you pulling the ABS cable out? You turning it off?
no,
Leave it on?
yeah, I don't. I don't. On when we're riding thousands in the super bikes, we turn it off.
Yeah,
On this one, I just left it as it was
yeah,
because one, I've got a real sticky set of tires, and I'm running tires off the tire warmers.
yeah.
Secondly, I'm not using the rear brake at all. It's just all
You're
front
just
brake.
holding it.
Well, it's just all front brake because there's no, I'm braking that thing as hard as it possibly brakes. And it wasn't locking up with the sticky tires on it. It was just slowing. It was actually bottoming the suspension out. Yeah. So, yeah,
That's
if you,
awesome.
if you were racing, you would.
Yeah,
If you ramped up, went to Brembo brakes or something,
yeah,
you turn it off because ABS locking on a racetrack is
yeah,
actually can cause a crash and cause you to run off the track.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's interesting. Oh man, I can't wait to see some more videos then. You got me fired up. I want to go hit a go-kart track.
Yeah, it's worth doing, but it doesn't. It's not better than the MX 450. The Motard is 100%.
Can you back it in on a motard bike?
Yeah, but can I make the corner? I don't know, that's the other question. But it's
I'm like that. Yeah, I can back it in, but I'm not smooth. I can't like you watch those guys on the
yeah.
internet, they back it in and it's like poetry.
Like backing it in for you. You're a dirt bike guy, right?
Mm.
As I am. So coming from the dirt bike, well, that's just straight out of the motocross book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Steering with the back as you come into a corner. So on the motard, it's fairly easy. Do I do it on a super bike? No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I,
Oh,
I got a question for you around the products and that type of thing.
mm.
Do you have plans, do you have thoughts about increasing or changing or reducing the product range of your new bikes? Or is it
Yeah,
remain?
well, we just made a big change. We actually, Braaap has moved out of the electric bikes. So that's a huge product change for us. We have Lecky
Saw that.
Electric.
I just saw something about that. Someone's taken it on.
Yeah, so Lecky Lecky Electric is an electric motorcycle brand. They're only electric.
Yep.
So all of our IP, everything that we developed or used, we've sold to them or given to them. We put 240 electric bikes on the road, which I'm really proud of. And it's a bit like you discussed the entrepreneurial side, and we kind of glorified it a little bit. Everyone loves a pioneer at the start, but when you get into like a year down the track and you got to take it to the next level, not everyone's so gracious. It's time to step it up. And I think it's like that with the electric bike in that we pioneered something. I'm really proud of that we got 240 bikes on the road. Man, proper electric bikes too. Like they're the same fairing as the Moto 4 you just said. So
Yeah.
look awesome. I love that. But we also we had a lot of lessons. Moving to electric was a huge move for us here at Braaap. And Lecky are investing in electric. So they're the future for them will be awesome. They're
Yeah.
electric only. They can make big promises about electric. Their future is yeah, I'm really optimistic about what they can do now they're focused on it.
Yeah.
But that moves to the question, what's Braaap going to do?
Yeah.
One of our manufacturing partners has the contract to build the BMW 650 single engine in China. And we've had prototypes for like 6 years and I want to pursue it. I just need more funding. So if
Yeah.
you've got anyone who's watching and it's like got some capital burning a hole in their pocket and they want to, take on the big guys with me, I need funding. We've had to really discipline our current focus on the leasing program. That's really been that's our thing. I think we've got a really exciting pathway to Braaap being, able to either have an exit, list on the stock market. Some like the corporate side of what we're doing
Yeah.
has to have an exit. And I think my job as the CEO is to build a dilemma. I want to, in 24 months, have a dilemma. Do we exit? Do we sell? Do we list? Or do we tell them to jam it and keep going? You always got to have that dilemma on the cards. If you don't, you haven't really built a great business.
Yeah, correct.
So we've had to laser focus on the leasing stuff and put the passion stuff aside a little bit. But that 650 needs to be, we need to be doing that 650. We would clean up with that model. We're perfectly positioned for it. We should be owning the lambs market.
Yeah.
And 400s, you've said, like, they're good value, they look awesome. They've been a great thing for us. 650's next. So
Wow.
want to do it.
Are we talking a naked or an adventure bike or what?
I think we should do the same engine and chassis. Well, not I think, like, we've got prototypes.
Yeah.
Same engine and chassis, do an adventure, a naked, and then a fairing model.
Yeah, wow. Just use everything as the basis for the one frame and engine as the basis for those.
Yeah, because if you do the same brakes, same chassis, same motor, mostly the same lights. I mean, they're the four major parts of your compliance approvals. And
Yeah.
then you do variations for, different suspension, different wheels, different fenders type things. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the go. But I want to remove the wait times. I want to get rid of these build to order programs. Although it's really awesome for us and we can offer a really aggressive price point, I want to launch the 650 with bikes in stock. So we're just waiting. There's the balance of, it's a passion versus, man, you got to be disciplined.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And we're back to you got to hold stock and it's logistical problems and man,
yeah.
oh man, it's not a business I want to be in, but I'm excited to watch it. Um,
Uh,
I got
we'll get there.
a question about the bikes themselves because I noticed this over the years. Like Royal Enfield was this Indian bike, and it was pretty crappy, and everyone had an opinion about that. And then it's evolved quite a bit until now, people like buying Royal Enfields and, they use them for trips overseas and a lot of the tours are
Yeah.
Royal Enfields. So you got, it seems to me that this whole bike thing, particularly bikes made in China, is following what happened with Hyundai and Kia, where when they originally came out, people thought they were garbage, but now they're seen as a real high value, product to buy. And some of the products they make are just amazing, particularly in
Yeah.
styling. What are your thoughts about this and the effect of on the Braaap brand itself? Because the bikes are made in China, right? They're
Yeah.
imported into Australia. Is there an evolution in the way people perceive them?
That's really, man, this is that whiteboard cops a flogging trying to answer this question. And that is that you really are playing a game of perception. And if I'm honest, our chips are the lowest they've ever been. We're coming out of COVID delays.
Yeah,
We're coming into a term like quite a volatile. It's a difficult season for the industry. If you call any dealer, sales are down.
yeah,
We're pivoting. Chips are down in our perception.
yeah,
Um, and this is something we need to master because really the brand precedes the product. Like,
yeah,
people think brand before they actually, most people who make comments on our quality and stuff,
yeah,
they probably don't have the full story. Like,
yeah,
yes, there's some room for improvement, but it's not a total disaster, that's for sure. Like, we're in the game. Um, we need to figure out what you just said. People love buying a Royal Enfield and going on the tours. Well, what percentage of Royal Enfield owners go on a tour? Probably like next to none.
yeah,
But
correct.
perception is that that's related to something, and it's not that it's an Indian basic motorcycle. Like, can you
Correct.
believe I've got to intercept a 650 here? Can you believe they're plus 10 grand and people pay it every day? They're
Yeah,
highly into, and then it's like you're not buying cutting edge technology, you're buying a brand.
yeah, correct.
We've had our butts kicked on that. We need to master that. We need the Michael Jordan to wear our shoe. We've got to figure this out.
Right. Right.
And To be honest, I think that's my biggest weakness as the leader of Braaap, is that we've been so focused on the business side and the,
Mm,
building a bike, and really that's all. Yeah, it's difficult and it's
mm.
important, but that gets us to the start line.
You
We
think
we need to.
Do you think it's changing? Do you think people are becoming more accustomed? Because I you know, I've posted videos about Braap on the YouTube channel, and people comment. I go, hang on a minute, you
Mm.
just wrote that on a Chinese-made Apple phone. Stop that bullshit about
Yeah,
China, because that's total crap. You know,
I
at the
think
end of
that's
the
long
day,
gone. Yeah, I think that's long. The average person doesn't actually, whatever that person said, they're
right?
probably not in the market. And if they are, they're totally blind. Like we could go down that track and
Yeah,
undo that objection really, really. That's not the problem. The
no,
problem is we don't have Michael Jordan wearing our
okay,
shoe.
okay, yeah,
And we've really got to figure that out. I don't know what that looks like. If there's anyone in the comments who's got ideas, like, because we can't go win a race to fix that problem. I don't, maybe
Well, that's not your market. You know,
that's what I mean. Like, I don't think we can go take on those guys. And, you could do that. You could put a couple of million in, you could go win some races, build some brand. It's not, we need to find another way, I believe. And it's probably a cultural move. It's probably,
yeah.
yeah. And I think it's my biggest weakness. I need to figure it out.
You just mentioned the racing. I heard someone once said to me, he said, you know how to make, a fair bit of money out of motorcycle racing? Start with a big fortune and begin motorcycle racing. There's no money in that.
Yeah.
Um,
But it is branding. I mean, you win a race. You
yeah,
could probably win the Aussie titles if you had enough money. I mean, you don't, because the thing is, you don't have to use the brand. Like most race teams aren't using the production product. So
no,
you could figure that out and go do something maybe. But
yeah. But now,
we
now
need,
we're talking a different price product. It shifts
yeah,
the product. Like if you said to me, what would I do on a Moto 4 to make it a race bike? It would
mm,
cost a fair bit of money. There'd be
yeah,
all the parts that you have to upgrade on any bike. Whether
yeah,
like that Beamer there was $35,000 new
yeah,
to race
yeah,
it. You still have to go and buy 10 grand worth of suspension if
yeah.
you're serious. So it's not it's but you're right. It is a perception thing about brand.
Yeah.
One day, like the Jordan Airs is the shoe thing. It's almost like you
Yeah.
need a different name on the bike. The
Yeah, but it's not about this is another debate. We had a marketing agency who backed us on some stuff, and he goes, "You should change the name and rebrand." I
yeah,
was like, "It's got nothing to do with, I don't believe it's got to do with the name or the colors or anything like that. It's got to do with who's associated to it.
right.
Wouldn't Air Jordans would work if it was called something else. But when you wear those shoes, you associate to all of the things that brand means, and we need to get better at that. We really do. It's time for us to nail that, and it's
They
a week.
they criticized the Apple brand originally.
Yeah,
Apple.
and no one cares for the name. If you think about some of the brand, if you go through that train of thought and think of brands that you love, it's like, could you imagine how horrible Kawasaki would have sounded to the Americans, back in the day, or that they were Japanese bikes,
Yeah,
in there was conflict between countries. Like, to
that's true.
think like that, it's everything. But we see them at AMA Supercross and we think they're amazing. They are.
Yeah,
But, I associate Yamaha to Eli Tomac now.
it's like, but I think the word "brap," like people already have some preconceived idea of what that means. Not in a negative way. It just it's the sound of a motorbike or something. It's
Yeah.
like, and I always wonder, like Lucky Gold. You remember Lucky Gold Star televisions? Like
Yeah.
there was a brand, right? And they sold through Woolworths and Coles and all that sort of stuff. You could buy this Lucky Gold Star television or technology. They rebranded, pulled it out of Woolworths and Coles and rebranded it to LG. And the
Yeah.
perception changed so fast about their
Yeah.
product. It's
Yeah.
but it's still a perception thing, isn't it? As you say, it's just how do you solve that question? But
Well, when we launched the Cafe Racer, that's a good example because it was a cultural move.
yeah,
Deus had got big with their fashion, and you'd go to
Oh,
the cafe in the morning for a coffee, and you'd see normal people wearing motorcycle apparel. So
yeah.
to tap into that and build a bike there was production that looked like that, you didn't have to know anything about mechanical or customizing, is buy it for 3 grand. That's a good example. We tapped into a cultural movement.
Yeah.
So we are going to tap into that. We did it a little bit with the electric bike. I would say that's been an awesome success for Braaap now, considering we've just, given it a new life and it's on to its next thing with the Lecky guys. But I think we've got to tap in, or we've got to create it. And you
Mm.
can create it by having the right people, brand ambassadors, our Michael Jordan. Yeah,
Mm.
I would, if I had the right person, like if Chad Reed was down, I would give him equity in Braaap to help us build a recreational riding brand around him and his family. Imagine, like that could change the game for us.
Yeah, right.
He's a guy that I should give half the company to and say, man, you're doing YouTube, your kids ride.
Yeah.
Yes, you're top end of everyone associates Chad Reed with winning or at least racing at the highest end. But you've got kids who love to ride, you got a missus who loves to ride, you're a family. There's a recreation element. We could win that. We could win that part of the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to
Interesting
figure it
challenge.
out. So yeah, if Chad Reed's watching, tell him to hit me up. He's yeah.
I wish I knew him. But mate, this you got the styling right. The styling of those things is gorgeous. That Moto 4, for anyone who's never seen one, man, have a look at it. Like I said, it looks like a mini Panigale. Well, mate, I'm a fan. I ride that MX450 and I love every minute of it. It's an absolute blast. So
I appreciate it. We've got to get down and do a ride day, and I'm really keen to. I was thinking we should, when you're down next, we should ask Wayne Maxwell if we can go over to Oakley go-kart track and take some Moto 4s because they do their mini GP stuff on that track. I wonder if there's an opening there for us to go and have a bit of fun on the Moto 4s
well, that'd
or
be
the
the place to
motards.
do it. Yeah, you'll have to put some good tires on.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Well, I reckon we have to get scratched. We'll just take scratch fairing so it can bang a few elbows. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think
I'm
I
in.
think if we go to a go-kart track, we have to be willing to scratch the bikes.
You do. Yeah, I'm in.
I love it.
Well, mate, I got nothing else to ask you. I had a little list of things I wanted to. That's it. It's pretty much it. Look, I'm a fan. I like the product. I love your approach, and regardless of what people say, I have a sense of who Brad is, and how positive your intent is. And I've never seen any indication of any of the negativity that people might mention. So I'm on board. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And it's good just to chat and do these things and sit here in my office most of the time. So it's good to get out there a bit and chat about this and put on display what we're up to. But it really does mean a lot to me to have your encouragement because I look up to what you do and yeah, keen to ride with you more and take that to something tangible and do some riding with you. But your encouragement means a lot to me. And man, this is a very personal game when you're building a business and a brand and you're responsible and you're trying to do good things. And yeah, it's a lot, but we keep fighting and I want to create something awesome. So your encouragement it just helps me personally a lot as well. So thank you for that.